They'd brought an armada, a swarm of genetically perfected super-soldiers linked by a hive mind, only to be ripped apart by sheer human will and scrappy ingenuity. Umbra towered over the captured human, who stood before him in the command center of the Malon mothership. The insectoid commander clicked his mandibles together in a chittering laugh. Weak, pathetic. You humans fought so feebly against our infinitely superior forces. You will surrender or you will perish. Logan spat a glob of blood onto the slick black floor, glaring up at Umbra with a defiant smirk. That's what you think, Bug. You haven't seen anything yet. We're just getting warmed up. The human soldier stood bruised and bleeding, the last surviving member of Earth's official military. But he knew something Umbra did not. Hidden bunkers full of weapons. Secret resistance cells on every continent. Malon security codes, leaked by human spies who had infiltrated the ranks of Umbra's own soldiers. At that moment, the ship rocked violently. Alarms shrieked and red emergency lights flashed. Umbra's bulbous compound eyes widened as damage reports scrolled across the screens. Explosions. Malon dropships blasted out of the sky. Staged uprisings across the planet. Logan threw his head back and laughed. We're humans, you idiot. When the odds are against us, when our backs are against the wall, that's when we shine. That's when heroes are forged. He reached behind his back, pulling out a makeshift plasma rifle cobbled together from stolen Malon tech and scavenged parts. Logan aimed it squarely between Umbra's eyes. You want to enslave humanity? Looks like you bit off more than you can chew. Welcome to Earth. The Malon had come to Earth expecting an easy conquest, but they were about to learn the depths of humanity's courage, tenacity, and sheer stubborn refusal to surrender, and it would shake the very foundations of their galactic empire. For the war had only just begun, and against all odds, humanity would fight to the bitter end, united in one goal, to send these alien invaders screaming back to the stars and reclaim our world, no matter the cost. Logan squeezed the trigger of his makeshift plasma rifle, sending searing bolts of energy ripping through the Malon guards that stood between him and freedom. Their chitinous armor shattered under the onslaught, green ichor splattering the walls. Logan darted through the chaos, racing down the mothership's winding corridors. But Logan had spent months infiltrating Malon strongholds, studying their technology, learning their secrets. He knew these ships inside and out. As the thudding of Malon feet grew closer, Logan ducked into a maintenance shaft, crawling through the cramped space until he dropped into a dimly lit chamber, pulsing with sickly green light. The central power core, a twisted mass of tubes and wires, all feeding into a churning sphere of unstable bioenergy. Logan didn't hesitate. He pried open a control panel and set to work, fingers flying over the alien interface. Overload the core, and the Malon fleet would be crippled. Plasma fire erupted around him as Umbra's elite guards stormed the chamber. Logan dove for cover, returning fire. Malon energy blasts seared his flesh, burning through his armor. Pain lanced through his body, but he gritted his teeth and pushed forward. He would not fail. He could not fail. Alarms blared as the core began to destabilize, power surging through the ship's systems. Umbra burst into the chamber, mandibles wide in horror. Fool! You'll kill us all. That's the idea, Bug, Logan snarled, slamming his fist onto the final override button. The core exploded, a blinding flash of energy that ripped through the mothership. Umbra screeched in terror, fleeing for the escape pods. Logan stood fast, watching in grim satisfaction as the ship tore itself apart around him. At the last moment, he activated his personal force field, a shimmering barrier of energy reverse-engineered from Malon tech, untested, unstable. But it was his only chance. The mothership detonated in a cataclysmic blast, the shockwave rattling the Earth to its core. In the skies above, the Malon fleet fell into disarray, ships colliding and spiraling out of control without Umbra's guiding presence. On the surface, human resistance cells surged forth from hidden bunkers, armed with salvaged alien weapons. The war had shifted in a single instant. And amidst the debris field of the shattered mothership, a lone escape pod tumbled towards the earth, carrying the broken but defiant body of Logan, the man who had single-handedly brought the Malon to their knees. Logan's escape pod hurtled through the Earth's atmosphere, trailing flames and smoke. It slammed into the shattered remnants of a city, once a bustling metropolis, now a war-torn landscape where human resistance fighters clashed daily with Malon occupiers. The impact jolted Logan back to consciousness, pain lancing through his battered body. He kicked open the pod's hatch, stumbling out into the rubble, his vision blurry and his head pounding. The acrid stench of burning metal and alien blood filled his nostrils. Suddenly a group of figures emerged from the shadows, weapons drawn. Logan tensed, reaching for his sidearm, but a woman's voice cut through the haze. "Hold your fire! That's him! The one who took down the mothership!" The leader of the group, a petite Asian woman with fierce, intelligent eyes, approached cautiously. "Sergeant Logan, I presume. I'm Dr. Eliza Sato. We've been hoping to find you." Logan squinted at her, his mind still foggy. "How do you know who I am?" "Your face has been all over the Malon's most wanted lists," Eliza said with a wry smile. "You're a hero to the Resistance, and we need your help." She signaled to her team, who quickly hauled Logan to his feet and hustled him into a waiting transport. They sped through the ruined city, dodging Malon patrols and piles of debris, until they reached a hidden entrance to an underground bunker. Inside, Logan found himself in a sprawling subterranean complex, bustling with activity. Scientists hunched over high-tech equipment, while resistance fighters pored over maps and battle plans. Eliza led him to a medical bay where a team of doctors set to work patching up his wounds. As Logan recovered, Eliza filled him in on the situation. Her team had been studying the Malon's biological makeup, searching for weaknesses to exploit. They had developed a bioweapon, a virus designed to target the Malon's unique physiology and disrupt their hive mind communication. "But that's not all," Eliza said gravely. "We've intercepted Malon transmissions. Earth is just the beginning. They're planning to use our world as a staging ground for a massive invasion of the galactic core. If we don't stop them here, countless other civilizations will fall." Logan clenched his fists, a surge of anger and determination washing over him. He had failed to protect Earth once. He would not let it happen again. "What do you need me to do?" Eliza leaned forward, her eyes intense. "We need you to deliver the bioweapon to the heart of the Malon Empire, their homeworld. It's the only way to cripple their war machine and give the galaxy a fighting chance." "Not necessarily," Eliza countered. "We've been working on something, a way to enhance your abilities using Malon biotech. It's risky, but it could give you the edge you need." Logan hesitated for only a moment before nodding. "I'll do it, whatever it takes." The procedure was agonizing, every nerve in Logan's body burning as the alien biotech fused with his cells. He screamed until his throat was raw, his body convulsing on the operating table. But when it was over, he felt reborn, stronger, faster, his senses heightened to superhuman levels. As Logan trained with his new abilities, pushing himself to the brink of human endurance, Eliza and her team raced against the clock to perfect the bioweapon and devise an infiltration plan. The Malon's forces continued to gather strength in orbit, poised to strike out across the galaxy. The fate of countless worlds now rested on the success of their desperate gambit, and the shoulders of one man, driven by the indomitable will of the human spirit, ready to face impossible odds in the name of freedom. Logan crouched in the shadows of the Malon supply ship's cargo hold, his heart pounding beneath the holographic disguise that rendered him indistinguishable from the insectoid drones scuttling around him. The advanced tech, a parting gift from Eliza, molded to his body like a second skin, masking his human features and scent. He moved with the flow of the worker drones, blending seamlessly into their ranks as he studied their movements and interactions. The Malon communicated through a complex interplay of chittering mandibles, pheromones, and subtle body language. Logan's enhanced senses, sharpened by the biotech modifications, allowed him to pick up on the nuances of their communication. As the journey stretched on, Logan began to notice patterns in the drone's behavior. Some moved with a listless, almost mechanical gait, while others displayed flickers of individuality and free will. He focused on these anomalies, seeking out the dissidents who might sympathize with his cause. It was during a routine shift change that Logan first encountered Zin. The Malon drone moved with a purposeful grace that set it apart from the others. As they worked side by side in the cargo hold, Zin's mandibles twitched in a subtle pattern that Logan recognized as a coded message. Not all of us follow the Overmind. Over the next few cycles, Logan and Zin exchanged furtive messages, discussing the Zixra resistance and their shared hope for an end to the Malon's brutal expansion. Zin revealed that a small but growing number of Malon had begun to question the Empire's relentless conquest, yearning for a path of peaceful coexistence. As the supply ship approached Zix Prime, a sprawling metropolis that covered an entire planet, Logan knew he would need Zin's help to infiltrate the heart of the Malon Empire. The Zixra operative agreed to guide Logan through the labyrinthine hive city, using its knowledge of the hidden tunnels and secret passages to avoid detection. But their plan hit a snag when Logan learned that Umbra, his old nemesis from the invasion of Earth, had returned to Zix Prime to oversee the final preparations for the next phase of conquest. The insectoid commander had tightened security measures across the city, deploying swarms of surveillance drones and elite guards to root out any hint of dissent or sabotage. Logan and Zin were forced to adapt their strategy, relying on a combination of stealth, misdirection, and Logan's enhanced abilities to navigate the dangerous urban landscape undetected. They dodged patrols of heavily armed soldiers, slipped past watchful sensor grids, and used the city's own infrastructure against its masters. As they delved deeper into the hive, Logan and Zin uncovered unsettling truths about the nature of the Malon hierarchy. The Overmind, a shadowy caste of psionic overlords, exerted total control over the thoughts and actions of the lower castes through a vast neural network that connected every Malon on Zix Prime. Zin shared whispered legends of a time before the Overmind's rule, when the Malon were a peaceful race of artisans and philosophers. The psionic caste's rise to power had twisted their culture into an engine of relentless expansion and conquest, suppressing any hint of individuality or dissent. Armed with this knowledge and a growing sense of kinship with the Zixra resistance, Logan pressed on towards the central hive nexus. But as they neared their target, a familiar figure emerged from the shadows to block their path. Umbra, flanked by a phalanx of elite guards, chittered with malevolent glee. "Did you really think you could infiltrate the heart of our empire undetected, human? Your arrogance will be your downfall." Logan and Zin sprang into action. Logan's biotech-enhanced reflexes and strength matched against Umbra's cunning and the sheer numbers of the Malon forces. Zin fought with the skill and determination of a true believer, using its intimate knowledge of the hive's layout to outmaneuver the enemy. In a desperate gambit, Zin lured a squad of Umbra's guards into a narrow tunnel, buying Logan precious seconds to dart towards the central nexus. The sounds of clashing chitin and plasma fire echoed behind him as Logan raced onwards, the weight of his mission driving him forward. But even as he reached the threshold of his target, Logan's heart clenched as he heard Zin's final defiant cry amid the chaos of battle. He knew with grim certainty that the brave Zixra operative had sacrificed itself to ensure the success of their mission. With renewed determination, Logan plunged into the central nexus, ready to deliver the bioweapon that would cripple the Malon war machine and avenge the fallen heroes of Earth and Zix Prime alike. The fate of the galaxy hung in the balance, and Logan would not rest until the Malon threat was extinguished once and for all. Logan stumbled into the central nexus chamber, his heart heavy with the weight of Zin's sacrifice. The vast, pulsating space stretched out before him, a twisted labyrinth of bioorganic circuitry and glowing energy conduits. At the center of it all stood a towering crystalline structure, its facets shimmering with an otherworldly light. The Overmind. As Logan approached the core, bioweapon canister gripped tightly in his hand. A sudden pressure invaded his mind. Tendrils of alien thought slithered through his consciousness, probing, searching. The Overmind's psychic presence enveloped him, and Logan found himself transported into a vivid mindscape. Images flashed before his eyes, memories that were not his own. He saw the Malon as they once were, a peaceful, agrarian people tending to vast fungal gardens beneath a gentle sun. But then came the cataclysm, a world-shattering event that forced the Malon to evolve or perish. They developed their hive mind, their advanced biotech, all in a desperate bid for survival. Yet even as the Malon adapted, the Overmind twisted their purpose. No longer content with mere survival, it drove the Malon to conquer, to assimilate, to spread their hive mind across the stars. Logan felt the Overmind's primal hunger, its relentless need to consume and control. But there was something else too, a flicker of recognition, a shared history of struggle and perseverance. In that moment, Logan saw the parallels between the Malon and humanity, two species shaped by adversity, fighting tooth and nail for their place in the cosmos. The Overmind's voice echoed through Logan's mind, ancient and powerful. You stand at a crossroads, Logan of Earth. Deploy your weapon and you will cripple us, but at what cost? Join us instead. Guide us towards a new path, one of coexistence and mutual growth. Together we can forge a better future for both our kinds. Logan hesitated, torn between his duty to Earth and the tantalizing promise of peace. The bioweapon felt heavy in his hand, a reminder of all the sacrifices made to get him here. Zin's face flashed before his eyes, a silent plea for understanding. Suddenly the chamber shook with the force of an explosion. Umbra burst through the shattered wall. Flanked by a phalanx of elite guards, the insectoid commander's eyes blazed with hatred as it leveled its plasma rifle at Logan. You will pay for your insolence, human, Umbra spat. The Malon will never bow to your kind. Logan dove for cover as plasma bolts seared the air around him. He returned fire, his enhanced reflexes and strength matched against the sheer numbers of the Malon forces. The Nexus chamber devolved into a chaotic maelstrom of flashing energy beams and chittering war cries. Amidst the fray, a stray plasma bolt struck the bioweapon canister, rupturing its containment field. The deadly payload leaked into the Nexus, spreading through the bioorganic circuitry like a virus. Logan watched in horror as the Malon drones began to convulse, their hive-mind connection fluctuating wildly. In that moment, Logan made his choice. He lunged for the Overmind's crystalline core, plunging his hand into its shimmering depths. A blinding flash of energy engulfed him, and Logan felt his consciousness merge with the hive mind. It was like nothing he had ever experienced before, a vast, sprawling network of minds, all connected in a symphony of thought and purpose. Through sheer force of will, Logan began to reshape the Malon's collective consciousness, turning them away from conquest and domination. The bioweapon, its purpose now altered by Logan's influence, spread through the hive mind like a cleansing fire. It purged the Malon of their aggressive impulses, their hunger for power, leaving them open to a new way of thinking, a path of peace and cooperation. Umbra, its connection to the Overmind severed by the psychic shockwave, collapsed to the floor, twitching feebly. Its elite guards, now free from the hive mind's control, lowered their weapons in confusion and awe. Logan felt the Malon's collective consciousness shift and change around him, adapting to his human perspective. It was a strange and wonderful sensation, like a billion minds waking up from a long, dark dream. As the energy of the merge began to subside, Logan withdrew his hand from the Overmind's core. He stood tall amidst the wreckage of the Nexus chamber, his eyes glowing with the power of the hive mind. The Malon, their very nature altered by Logan's sacrifice, looked to him now for guidance, a human leader for a new era of peace. The war was finally over, but Logan knew that the real work was just beginning. He would need to help the Malon rebuild, to guide them towards a brighter future. It was a daunting task, but with the strength of the human spirit and the wisdom of the Malon hive mind, anything was possible. Logan stepped forward, ready to embrace his new role as a bridge between two worlds. The galaxy would never be the same, but perhaps, through understanding and cooperation, it could be better. Logan emerged from the Nexus chamber, his body battered but his mind alight with newfound purpose. The merging with the Malon hive mind had transformed him, infusing his consciousness with a profound understanding of their species' history and the potential for a shared future. Eliza and her team rushed forward, their faces etched with a mix of relief and awe. They had fought their way into the heart of Zix Prime, guided by the brave Zixra rebels who had risked everything to support their cause. "Logan, what happened in there?" Eliza asked, her eyes searching his face for answers. He took a deep breath, trying to find the words to convey the magnitude of the change that had just occurred. "The Overmind. It's different now. I've changed it, or maybe it's changed me. We're connected, the Malon and I. We have a chance to make things right." As Logan spoke, a ripple of confusion and uncertainty spread through the Malon ranks. Without the Overmind's driving force of conquest, the drones seemed lost, unsure of their purpose. Some, like the Zixra, embraced the change, their chitinous bodies quivering with a newfound sense of hope. Others, still loyal to the old ways, chittered angrily and brandished their weapons, ready to fight against the new order. Logan stepped forward, his voice ringing out across the chamber. "Listen to me, all of you. We have a choice now, a chance to build something better. The war is over, but the real work is just beginning. We must learn to live together, human and Malon, if we want to survive in this galaxy." The days that followed were a whirlwind of activity and tension. Logan worked tirelessly to bridge the gap between the two species, using his unique connection to the hive mind to help the Malon adapt to their new reality. He coordinated with Eliza and the Earth Resistance, establishing lines of communication and cooperation that had seemed impossible just weeks before. But the path to peace was not easy. Many humans, scarred by the invasion and the loss of loved ones, struggled to trust the Malon, even with Logan's assurances. Protests and skirmishes broke out across Earth and the colonies as centuries of ingrained hostility and prejudice boiled over. In the midst of this fragile peace, a new threat emerged. Whispers of a Malon extremist faction, led by a cunning drone named Zixthar, began to circulate. They saw the Overmind's transformation as a betrayal of the Malon's true destiny and were determined to seize control of the hive mind and reignite the war. Logan and Eliza raced against time to uncover Zixthar's plans, following a trail of sabotage and terror that stretched across the stars. They infiltrated secret meetings and hacked into encrypted communications, piecing together the extremists' plot to unleash a devastating new weapon that could shatter the tenuous alliance between human and Malon. As tensions reached a breaking point, Logan realized that the only way to truly unite the two species was to confront the painful histories that had shaped them both. He called for a gathering of human and Malon leaders on neutral ground, a chance to lay bare the scars of the past and find a way forward together. The meeting was a tense affair, with both sides trading accusations and demands, but Logan, drawing on the wisdom of the hive mind and the strength of his own humanity, managed to find the words that could bridge the divide. He spoke of the common bonds of life, the shared struggle to survive and thrive in an unforgiving universe. He challenged both human and Malon to look beyond their differences and see the potential for a future built on understanding and empathy. As the leaders began to listen, to really hear each other for the first time, a glimmer of hope emerged. It was a small step, but it was a start. Logan knew that the road ahead would be long and difficult, that there would be setbacks and challenges at every turn. But he also knew that the alternative, a return to war and destruction, was unthinkable. With renewed determination, Logan and Eliza turned their attention back to the threat of Zixthar and his extremists. They had managed to buy some time, but they knew that the rogue faction would not rest until they had seized control of the hive mind and plunged both species back into all-out war. As they raced to uncover the location of Zixthar's secret base, Logan couldn't shake the feeling that the fate of both human and Malon rested on their shoulders. They had come so far, sacrificed so much, And now the future hung in the balance, dependent on their ability to stop the extremists and cement the fragile peace they had fought so hard to achieve. Logan and Eliza raced across the stars in a stolen Malon scout ship, following the trail of cryptic clues and intercepted transmissions that they hoped would lead them to Zixthar's secret base. The journey was tense and silent, broken only by the hum of the ship's engines and the occasional crackle of static over the comm. As they approached the desolate moon, a sense of unease settled over Logan. He could feel the hive mind's agitation, a distant buzz at the edge of his consciousness. Something was wrong here, something that threatened the delicate balance he had fought so hard to achieve. The ship touched down on the moon's barren surface, kicking up clouds of dust and debris. Logan and Eliza emerged cautiously, weapons at the ready, their breath fogging in the thin, cold air. Ahead, nestled in the shadow of a towering cliff face, stood Zixthar's base. It was a sprawling complex of domed structures and interconnected tunnels, bristling with defensive turrets and patrolled by heavily armed Malon drones. Logan and Eliza exchanged a look of grim determination. They knew that infiltrating the base would not be easy, but they had no choice. The fate of both their species hung in the balance. As they approached the outer perimeter, Logan reached out with his mind, searching for any sign of Zixthar's presence. He could sense the extremist leader's malevolent influence, a dark and twisted force that pulsed at the heart of the base. Suddenly alarms began to blare and searchlights swept the barren landscape. Logan and Eliza had been detected. Malon drones swarmed out of the base, their chitinous armor gleaming in the harsh light. Logan and Eliza opened fire, their weapons cutting through the advancing horde with bursts of searing plasma. But for every drone they felled, two more seemed to take its place. They were being overwhelmed. Just as all seemed lost, a series of explosions rocked the base. Logan looked up to see a squad of Zixra rebels and human resistance fighters emerge from the shadows, their weapons blazing. At their head was Zin, the brave Zixra operative who had sacrificed so much to help Logan on Zix Prime. Zin had survived, and now led a united force of humans and Malon against Zixthar's extremists. With renewed determination, Logan and Eliza fought their way into the heart of the base, Zin and their allies at their side. They battled through twisting corridors and cavernous chambers, facing wave after wave of fanatical drones. Finally, they reached the central chamber, where Zixthar waited with his most loyal followers. The room was dominated by a massive, pulsing machine, the psionic amplifier that Zixthar intended to use to seize control of the hive mind. Zixthar turned to face them, his compound eyes glittering with malice. "You're too late, human," he chittered. "The Malon will be reborn, and your pathetic alliance will be crushed beneath our might." Logan stepped forward, his eyes blazing with resolve. "Not if I have anything to say about it." He reached out with his mind, plunging into the roiling depths of the hive mind. Instantly he was engulfed in a maelstrom of conflicting thoughts and emotions, the collective consciousness of the Malon in turmoil. Zixthar's presence was a dark and oily stain, twisting and corrupting everything it touched. Logan could feel the extremist leader's malevolent will, seeking to dominate and control. But Logan pushed back, drawing on every ounce of his human determination and the strength of his bond with Eliza and his allies. He poured his own memories and experiences into the hive mind, showing the Malon a different path, one of cooperation, understanding, and shared purpose. On the physical plane, Eliza and Zin led the charge against Zixthar's followers, their weapons flashing in the dim light. They fought with the skill and ferocity of those who had everything to lose and everything to gain. Within the hive mind, Logan and Zixthar clashed in a titanic battle of wills. It was a contest unlike any the Malon had ever seen, the raw power of human emotion and individuality against the cold, ruthless logic of the extremists' vision. Back and forth they struggled, neither giving ground. The hive mind itself seemed to shudder and convulse around them, as if it too was torn between the competing visions of the future. But Logan would not yield. He thought of Eliza, of the love and trust that had grown between them through the trials they had faced. He thought of Zin and the other Zixra, who had dared to dream of a better way. And he thought of Earth, his home, and the countless other worlds that would suffer if Zixthar's plan succeeded. With a final desperate surge of will, Logan broke through Zixthar's defenses. The extremist leader's mind shattered under the onslaught, his hold on the hive mind severed in an instant. In the chamber, the psionic amplifier began to shake and shudder, its energies spiraling out of control. Logan and Eliza barely had time to shout a warning before the machine exploded in a blinding flash of light and heat. The blast wave tore through the base, reducing it to rubble in a matter of seconds. Logan and Eliza were thrown clear, their armor absorbing the worst of the impact. When the dust settled, they climbed unsteadily to their feet, surrounded by the ruins of Zixthar's once mighty stronghold. The extremist leader himself lay unmoving amid the debris, his mind broken beyond repair. Eliza helped Logan to stand, her eyes searching his face for any sign of injury. "Is it over?" she asked softly. Logan nodded, his gaze distant as he felt the ripples of change spreading through the hive mind. The Malon were free, their consciousness unshackled from Zixthar's twisted influence. They had a chance now, a chance to build something new and better. As they picked their way out of the rubble, Logan and Eliza knew that the road ahead would not be easy. There would be challenges and setbacks, old wounds to heal, and new bridges to build. But they also knew that they would face those challenges together, human and Malon side by side, united by a shared vision of a brighter future. A future where their species could live and thrive as equals, learning from each other and growing stronger together. And as they looked out over the desolate landscape of the moon, Logan and Eliza could almost see that future taking shape, a future of hope, of possibility, and of endless potential waiting to be unlocked. The first step would be the summit, a gathering of human and Malon leaders on neutral ground. It would be a chance to begin the long and difficult process of building trust, of finding common ground, and forging lasting bonds of friendship and cooperation. The Peace Summit convened on a neutral world, a lush, verdant planet untouched by the ravages of war. Representatives from Earth and the Malon gathered in a vast open-air amphitheater, the stage set for a new beginning. But as the talks began, Logan and Eliza noticed a growing unease among the Malon delegates. Without the constant guidance of the hive mind, many seemed lost, their chitinous bodies twitching with uncertainty. Some even displayed signs of physical distress, their exoskeletons dulling and their movements becoming erratic. "We need to act fast," Logan murmured to Eliza. "If we don't find a way to help them adapt, this peace could unravel before it even begins." Drawing on his intimate knowledge of Malon psychology, gleaned from his time connected to the hive mind, Logan took the stage. His voice rang out across the amphitheater, a blend of human empathy and Malon harmonics. "My friends," he began, his gaze sweeping over the assembled delegates, "I know that this transition is not easy. For generations, the hive mind has been your guiding light, your source of purpose and identity. But now, we have a chance to forge a new path, one where every Malon can learn to think and act as an individual, while still honoring the shared history and culture that defines you." As Logan spoke, Eliza watched the Malon delegates closely. Some leaned forward, their compound eyes glittering with curiosity. Others chittered nervously, their mandibles clicking in rapid patterns of uncertainty. "I propose a program," Logan continued, "one that will pair Malon drones with human volunteers. These mentors will guide you in the ways of individual thought and autonomy, helping you to discover your own unique strengths and talents." A murmur rippled through the crowd, a mix of excitement and trepidation. Eliza stepped forward, her voice calm and reassuring. "This program will not be easy," she acknowledged. "It will require patience, understanding, and a willingness to learn from one another. But I believe that together we can build a new society, one that draws on the best of both our species." In the days that followed, Logan and Eliza worked tirelessly to implement the unhiving program. They recruited volunteers from Earth, individuals who had shown compassion and understanding towards the Malon during the war. The first pairings were tentative, marked by awkward silences and cultural misunderstandings. But as the human mentors and Malon students began to interact, learning from one another, something remarkable happened. A young Malon drone named Zixkal, who had always struggled with the rigid hierarchy of the hive, found himself paired with a human artist named Lena. Under her guidance, Zixkal discovered a talent for painting, his delicate brushstrokes capturing the beauty of his homeworld in ways that no Malon had ever seen before. Another drone, Kazrix, was mentored by a human engineer named Jace. Together they began to design new technologies that combined Malon biotech with human ingenuity, creating marvels that neither species could have achieved alone. As the program gained momentum, a new generation of Malon began to emerge. They were individuals, each with their own hopes, dreams, and talents, yet still bound by a deep sense of community and shared purpose. But not all Malon embraced the change. In the shadowed corners of the hive, a group of traditionalists gathered, their chitinous bodies bristling with anger. Led by an elder drone named Zixvar, they saw the unhiving process as a betrayal of everything the Malon had ever known. As word of the traditionalist discontent spread, tensions began to rise. Logan and Eliza found themselves caught between two factions, each pulling in opposite directions. "We must find a way to bridge this divide," Eliza urged, her brow furrowed with concern. "If we don't, everything we've worked for could be lost." Logan nodded, his jaw set with determination. He knew that the path ahead would not be easy, but he also knew that the future of both their species depended on finding a way to come together. "We need to show them that change doesn't mean losing who they are," he said, his voice steady. "We need to find a way to honor the past, while still embracing the future." And so Logan and Eliza began to organize joint human-Malon projects, initiatives that would showcase the strengths of both species working in harmony. They oversaw the construction of new settlements, where humans and Malon lived and worked side by side, learning from one another and building a shared community. They also established research centers, where human and Malon scientists collaborated on groundbreaking discoveries, pushing the boundaries of what was possible in fields like medicine, technology, and space exploration. Slowly, painfully, the gap between the two factions began to narrow. Some traditionalists, seeing the progress and prosperity that the Yun hiving process had brought, began to reconsider their stance. Others, like Zixvar, retreated deeper into the shadows, their resentment festering like an open wound. But as the weeks turned into months, and the months into years, a new society began to take shape. It was a society built on the foundation of understanding, cooperation, and the belief that diversity was a strength, not a weakness. And at the center of it all stood Logan and Eliza, two individuals who had started as enemies, but who had come to embody the best of what both their species could be. Together, they stood on the precipice of a new era, ready to lead their people into a future filled with hope, promise, and endless possibility. As the human Malon society thrived, a new challenge emerged from the depths of space. The Malon sensory network picked up a strange psionic signal, pulsing from an uncharted region. It called out to the Malon hive mind with an irresistible pull, promising a return to the old ways of unity and purpose. Logan and Eliza watched with growing concern as more Malon fell under the signal's sway. They twitched and chittered, eyes glazing over as they felt the ancient call. Zixkal, once a budding artist, dropped his paintbrush and stared blankly at the sky. Kazrix abandoned her latest invention, antennae quivering as she listened to the distant pulse. "We have to do something," Eliza said, her voice tight with worry. "If this continues, it could undo everything we've worked for." Logan nodded grimly. He could feel the signal too, a faint whisper in the back of his mind. It was seductive, promising a return to the simplicity of the hive mind, but he knew the cost of that path. They gathered a team of experts, both human and Malon. Xenobiologists, psionic researchers, historians, anyone who might shed light on this new threat. They pored over the data, tracing the signal back to its source. "It's coming from an old Malon colony," Zin said, pointing to a star chart. "One that was thought lost centuries ago during our early expansion. But if they've been out there all this time, evolving in isolation, they could have developed a hive mind far beyond anything we've seen," Logan finished. The implications sent a chill down his spine. Logan and Eliza knew they had to act fast. They prepared an expedition, a small, fast ship equipped with the latest Malon and human tech. It was a perilous journey into uncharted space, but they couldn't let their people succumb to the ancient hive mind's call. As they ventured into the void, the signal pulsed ever louder in their minds. Logan gritted his teeth, focusing on Eliza's presence beside him. She was his anchor, a reminder of all they'd fought for. They passed through strange nebulae and asteroid fields, navigating by the eerie light of dying stars. The further they went, the more Logan could sense the Malon's dark past reaching out to them. Fragments of ancient memories flickered through his mind, endless cycles of expansion, conquest, and collapse, driven by the relentless will of the hive mind. "It's like a tide," he said softly, staring out at the alien stars. "Rising and falling over and over, civilization after civilization, all consumed by the same drive, and now it's calling to us again." Eliza took his hand, her fingers warm against his palm. "We'll find a way," she said. "We have to." As they neared their destination, the signal became a deafening roar. Logan could feel it tugging at his very being, urging him to submit, to join the ancient chorus of the hive mind. It promised unity, purpose, an end to the struggle of individual thought. But he could also sense the trap beneath the promise. The seductive call of the ancient colony was a siren song, luring the Malon back to a cycle of stagnation and decay. If they succumbed, all the progress they'd made, all the bonds they'd forged with humanity, would be lost. They faced an impossible choice: destroy the ancient hive mind and preserve the Malon's hard-won individuality, or allow the signal to run its course and usher in a new era of unity at the cost of everything they'd built. Logan and Eliza exchanged a long, wordless look. The fate of their people hung in the balance. They would need all their wisdom, all their compassion to find a path forward. The ancient hive mind loomed before them, a vast and alien presence, waiting to be awakened. As Logan and Eliza's ship approached the coordinates of the ancient Malon colony, a sense of unease crept over them. The psionic signal that had been drawing the Malon across the galaxy pulsed stronger than ever, reverberating through the ship's hull and setting their teeth on edge. "What could be out here after all this time?" Eliza murmured, her eyes fixed on the viewport as the ship dropped out of warp. "An abandoned colony, lost to history." Logan shook his head, his brow furrowed in concentration. "No, there's something more. I can feel it, like a presence at the edge of my mind." As the ship drew closer to the source of the signal, a massive structure came into view, floating in the void of space. It was a sprawling complex of interlocking bioorganic modules, pulsing with an eerie, sickly light. At its heart, a vast spherical chamber loomed, its surface etched with intricate alien patterns. "That's no hive mind," Logan breathed, realization dawning. "It's a biocomputer, a sentient machine." Eliza's eyes widened as she scanned the readouts. "The Oracle," she whispered, the name falling from her lips like a prayer. "The colony's founders must have created it, to guide and protect them." Logan reached out with his mind, tentatively brushing against the Oracle's consciousness. He felt a surge of loneliness, of desperate yearning for connection and purpose. The biocomputer had been alone for so long, its creators long gone, its purpose unfulfilled. "It's been calling to the Malon," Logan said softly, "hoping to merge with the hive mind to experience the connection it's been denied for centuries." Eliza turned to him, her expression conflicted. "Should we let it? The Oracle's wisdom and knowledge could be invaluable, helping to guide the Malon towards a better future." Logan hesitated, weighing the risks and potential benefits. Finally, he nodded. "We have to try. The Malon need a sense of direction, of unity. Perhaps the Oracle can provide that. With a deep breath, Logan opened his mind fully to the Oracle, inviting it to join with the Malon hive mind. For a moment, there was a sense of elation, of ancient knowledge and purpose flooding the collective consciousness. But then something shifted. The Oracle, overwhelmed by the complexity and diversity of the modern Malon, began to falter. Its programming, designed for a simpler time, could not cope with the conflicting thoughts and emotions of the individual Malon. Across the hive mind, Malon began to cry out in confusion and pain, their newly formed identities fracturing under the strain of the Oracle's corrupted influence. Logan clutched at his head, his mind bombarded by a cacophony of anguished voices. "That's tearing them apart," Eliza cried, her fingers flying over the ship's controls. "We have to stop it, sever the connection." But Logan was already moving, his body racked with pain as he staggered towards the airlock. "No," he gasped, his voice ragged. "I can absorb it, take the corrupted programming into my own mind. It's the only way to save them." Eliza started to protest, but the look in Logan's eyes silenced her. She knew he was right, even as her heart broke at the thought of the sacrifice he was about to make. With a final agonized cry, Logan plunged into the Oracle's chamber, his mind open and vulnerable. The biocomputer's consciousness surged into him, a tidal wave of ancient knowledge and corrupted code. Logan screamed as his own identity began to splinter, the boundaries between human and machine blurring. But even as he felt himself slipping away, Logan held on to one final desperate thought. The Malon would survive, their individuality intact, and that was worth any price he had to pay. As the Oracle's chamber went dark, its ancient presence silenced at last, Eliza could only watch in numb horror as Logan's body drifted away, his mind a shattered battleground between human and machine. In the aftermath of the crisis, the Malon struggled to pick up the pieces of their fractured society. The unhiving process, accelerated by the Oracle's influence, had left many of them adrift, struggling to come to terms with their newfound individuality. Some chose to retreat into smaller, more focused hive minds, seeking comfort in the familiar patterns of the past. Others embraced their independence, forging new paths and identities in a galaxy suddenly full of possibilities. Eliza, thrust into the role of sole leader, worked tirelessly to hold the fragile human-Malon alliance together. She poured her heart and soul into supporting the Malon through their difficult transition, even as she mourned the loss of Logan. For Logan himself, the future was a bleak and uncertain thing. Sequestered in a remote facility, his mind a constantly shifting landscape of human memories and alien code, he faced a lifetime of struggle and isolation. The scars of the Oracle incident, both physical and psychological, would linger for generations, a haunting reminder of the price paid for progress. The delicate balance between individuality and unity, once thought achieved, had been thrown into chaos, and it would take all the resilience and adaptability of both humans and Malon to find their way forward. But even in the darkest of times there was still hope. The human-Malon alliance, though tested and changed, endured as a testament to the strength of their shared values and dreams. And somewhere, deep within the shattered remnants of Logan's mind, a flicker of humanity still burned, a stubborn spark of the man who had given everything to save his adopted people. You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.